How's boys and girls to the Wizard and the Priestess. I'm your host, Matt, joined by someone else familiar today. Make yourself known, please.
Co-host. That's that point when you say co-host, and then I say that was how it used to be, you know?
Uh, well, times are changing, Nuala, so better catch up, adapt, or die.
Shit. Did you, on that note, did you want to start with a joke, or was that it?
I hadn't thought of a joke. I'll bring the joke in at a more inappropriate time.
Come on. You never had time before.
Right, a lot of pressure. I can't remember which ones I've told.
Say this every time, and you never repeat it, so just trust that you won't.
Okay, well, you didn't understand the dwarf joke last week, so I'll do another dwarf joke for you as an opportunity for you to redeem yourself. So the seven dwarves were all having a bath and they were all feeling pretty happy. They were all, really feeling happy. So then Happy left.
So inappropriate.
I warned you.
You warned me that I would redeem myself, not that I would feel like icky.
Well, you have redeemed because you actually got the joke for a change.
Oh, you miss this like opportunity
So
to
much.
like get all.
Helping you grow. You're welcome.
Well, you know, Matthew, the lunar eclipse that we experienced a few weeks ago was that opportunity to grow, let go, and move on. And in like the sidereal perspective was that it was in Aquarius, which was the first time in Aquarius, like the first eclipse in the Aquarius, which is moving towards the collective. However, from tropical, it's more about the Piscean. It's like Pisces, and that then was correlated to the North Node, which is currently in Pisces. So it's all about your destiny,
Hmm.
especially if Pisces sits in your chart in some particular way. But either way, both sidereal and tropical astrology do like met at that point, and they agreed that there were like big shifts to the life path and big shifts to, I guess, how like how our future aspirations. Now, I hope you spent some time over that like period of week to 2 weeks that the eclipse sat upon manifesting
Of
and
course.
utilizing the power of that time. But you know what I did, I was being kind of diving into how to find, based upon the astrological framework, how to find the soul's purpose and kind
Hmm.
of move in that way. So I think that it's really interesting when we start to dive into these when we start to use these frameworks like the astrology
Hmm.
or astrology, human design, gene keys, like any of these numerology, enneagrams, like any of those things that start to give us this pathway or start to kind of help
Hmm.
us uncover who we are. One of the things that we sort of want to use in that, or is to identify in that, is like, what is our soul purpose? And once we identify that from this particular framework's perspective, it sort of gives us a guideline as to, okay, and this is where kind of the utilizing the opportunity, like the chat GPT AI aspects, because there is a bot called the Architect, which has been
Is that a part of
so
ChatGPT?
there's different types of chat bots that what they've been created from, people feed the information in. So all chat GPT has
Right.
been fed, right? So it's been fed certain information, hence why you get certain responses. But with this particular one, the Architect is the chat GPT that has been fed by this guy Robert E. Guards or something. Anyway, he and he's very like soul driven, alchemically driven, really into all the things we're into. And so he created this chat bot. And so I spent some time asking this chatbot, like, what is my purpose? What am I, what's my soul's purpose? And then it broke it down in different ways. So it used kind of the alchemical process, understanding. So kind of told me the process of like what happened at the beginning and then the layers of what will come off as the
Beginning of
beginning
what?
of life. So the beginning of the bang that you came to life, if that makes sense. Like the beginning of the alchemical process of like the reason,
So
purpose you.
our personal
Yeah.
Big Bang.
Yeah, yeah. Your personal big bang. And it was really interesting because it kind of identified for me, which is sort of the theme that keeps coming up, but like this letting go of so many, so much, so many layers essentially, like the letting go of these identities that I thought were going to be ingrained in me for always. And it talked a lot about moving out of the like very individual self needing self support. I mean, what is that? Accolade and applaud, needing to be
Right. So
valid.
external, you're looking for validation from the external
Yeah,
self.
so moving away from, not necessarily moving away from needing that, but moving away from creating identities that need that or that are fueled by it. And then
Yep.
moving more for me personally towards the collective and creating things for the collective. And it's very interesting in
Hmm.
the way that, and like, what it shared for me personally was that I like to work in partnerships, and partnerships is like a really potent thing for me. I was like, that's really
Hmm.
interesting because obviously I would never have started this podcast if you were not on it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you. But it's like, it's quite an interesting, it was a very interesting process of, and then now it kind of makes sense as to why certain things have manifested for me and certain things have not. And how, I think that's how life is, right? The things you're not expecting to need or want come to, come to fruition without you realizing that's what you need and want.
So how accurate was this bot in telling you your sole purpose?
I wouldn't say that I have necessarily grounded into myself or anchored for myself what I think that should be. Does that make sense? Like I don't
Hmm.
feel like I'm like, oh, this is exactly who I am and what I'm here for. So I don't know that I've spent enough in-depth space understanding that. But what did it say? So this is the Philosopher's Stone, the very end piece of what the bot spat out. And it said, embodied wisdom thought that reforms systems and nurtures humanity's evolution. An alchemist of service and structure, grounded yet visionary. And
And what's that based on?
my sidereal astrology.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Well, I've got some questions for you to help ground you in that, maybe, if you're open
okay.
to it. Are you
Yes.
ready? Sit down.
Seated.
Okay. And I would invite anyone listening to write these down and answer them themselves, because this is what I would take. Sometimes I would take a client through this, and some of them you can answer really quick. Some you need to really sit with and let the answer come. But the first question: what do I enjoy simply because it brings me joy?
Yes.
Okay, so leave that there. What does rest look like when I'm not feeling guilty about anything?
Laying in the sun like a lizard.
When I feel safe and unhurried, what kind of person do I become?
Really beautiful, tranquil, serene.
Who am I when I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, even myself.
The same.
What parts of my personality have I hidden to feel? Sorry, what parts of my personality have I hidden to feel or be accepted?
Probably my honesty or like my truth telling.
Okay. So there's one or two there where we're not really sure.
Two? One or two?
I think it was the first
What
one.
brings you joy?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I guess that question becomes a bit difficult or layered when it's like, well, what does bring me joy? So many things bring me joy. But it does, I don't feel like I can't like just bring it into one neat little package. But I think just being brings me most joy. Right now, being in certain particular environments. So being around when I can just watch my kids be, like that feels like,
Just the unbound play of
oh,
a child.
so joyful. And as a parent, mate, that is not that common because you are, you know, they can be fully immersed in play. But then if you kind of tiptoe in a little bit, they want you in. They suck you in like into their vortex. And then there's the kind of push and pull of mum's here. And so it's just like, yeah, being pure bliss for me is seeing with my three kids in their imaginary realm of joy. And then also full bliss for me is singing in my garden. Like, yeah, just and being in the sunshine.
So what I'm hearing you say archetypally is the nature child.
Uh-huh.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, right now for sure. I like talk to the trees every day and have made a distinguished decision to like go out and be with my garden every single day. Make sure that, well, obviously now we're coming into spring, we need to water the garden every day. But I would probably kind of be like, Hampus will do it. Whereas now we're going down, me and the kids will get home from whatever we've done through the day and we'll go down and we'll be together in the garden and we'll water the plants and yeah. So right now for sure being in nature is 100% that, but it's not.
So wouldn't you say that your nature child is your purpose right now?
Could be. I think that differs from the soul purpose, if that makes like
Well, when you say soul purpose, are you referring to like your soul path
yeah,
in life?
that's sort of what but that's really, I mean, obviously those pieces, the way is the way, right? So no matter what, we're going to move in the direction of the way. Whatever bumps and bruises we collect or joys and bliss we experience, there's always going to be the way weighing. And the thing that I found really cool about adding in the alchemical journey to this bot was that it kind of went through the calcination, dissolution, the separation, conjunction, fermentation, distillation, those words in the alchemical process. And so that was really interesting because it almost kind of helps you see the pieces or where you're at along that sort of journey, if that is the way, right? Because that's not necessarily, I'm not saying that this bot knows everything because it's given me from one framework, this is what my life is. But it is, I'm just looking at it now, and the initial calcination, that initial process of moving into the alchemical space for me was to burn away the ego. And the next step was the dissolution was to dissolve attachment to material identity. And like, for me, those two pieces feel so potent for the last 12 months. Like how much ego has had to like just completely be abolished. And then that identity, like the material identity, I'm just correlating to being a being the holistic practitioner that has all the answers, that is the wisdom keeper that can share and support and nourish all the people. And now and also feeling an attachment to that identity, being seen as that person. And now I feel so free from that. So relieved of no longer putting that pressure on myself to uphold some form of identity that I've created for myself, I don't have that sensation anymore. It doesn't, like, even if someone were to ask me a question, which surprisingly no one really does. No one's like, hey, so what do you think of this health issue that I've got? But that also comes from, I've moved away from the people that would have even considered asking me those questions.
I think they ask me.
Perfect.
Now. I get all those.
Which makes sense, because you're still within that realm of caring for and nurturing and nourishing. But for me, it was quite interesting to sense that whatever this bot has identified within my sidereal astrology chart, that my soul journey needed to move through these things. And it was almost like I probably was just moving not too slowly. There's never too slow, but it's like almost had to kick that into gear. We need to move into the separation or the conjunction. We need to get out of that base and start to move.
Well, it's like your soul, your oversoul, your higher self, whatever label you want to put on that mechanism, let's say, it has experiences and lessons it wants to learn. And it draws the map. And there's, I guess, point A, point B, which could argue, let's just say, beginning of incarnation, end of incarnation. But there's lots of roads in between connecting them. And so that opens up many probabilities that you can take. But it's the choice of the free will of the incarnated ego that chooses the path it takes. And if you're going off on a certain path, you can feel it. If you're on a certain path, you can definitely feel it. But we've got to a point where we don't give ourselves permission to feel it. Or space or time or anything. Because, we can't do that because we put that roadblock in front of us every single time. So what's the biology behind that?
So I think there's an aspect when it comes to biology that would you naturally sense there'd be a shy away from, because there would be the kind of German idea of this biology is that there is an A and there's a black and a white, there's
Can you just define German idea for some
for
people?
example, when you're trying to learn German, there is no room. There is no room for
zero.
There is no room.
Absolutely none.
For misunderstanding. You can say you in 5 different ways. It's
you can.
If you're talking to your mother, your father.
That we know of.
Thus far, the German journey.
Yeah.
But, you could be talking to a friend or a mother or a father, the feminine, the masculine, the unknown person, the known person, There is no space for misunderstanding. And I think that's what I'm getting to in terms of when it comes to the biology, it is...
That's a good analogy. I like that.
It is defined. It is exactly as it is. So with that said, when it comes to the journey of... What was the question? Was it around... biology
what's the biology mechanism
of the alchemical process, you meaning? So I think that we can look at it from one place, and this is where it does go now I know this has sort of been triggering a few people because I've had a few messages about it, and I know it does activate Matt a little bit, but think about it in a sense of the female organism and the male organism on this earthly plane have specific roles. So if I were to talk to a bird and there was a male bird and a female bird, you would see very specifically that they have different roles. And I think that's what I'm talking to in terms of biology. It's not to say how you identify or how you sexually perceive yourself or any of those things is right or wrong. It's not that at all. It is just that naturally there is something that has innately been created and programmed your physicality and physical body in a particular way to live out this soul's journey and experience with a purpose. So
pre-programmed.
Yeah,
biology.
so as for example, we know that when the baby has an hang on.
XY,
Who,
XX.
girls XX? Boys XX.
Um,
Girls XY. No, I think it's XY is the man. But I get confused by that because someone said the other day that the XY is the female because the woman is just minus one leg.
so XX is
Female.
Female.
Okay. No, so that doesn't make sense to me. But the XY is the man. Either way, when we think of X, like the different chromosomal, once that has been solidified in as an egg, as a zygote, within short period of time during that separation, those initial separations, there's going to be decisions already being made within that zygote. And those decisions are going to promote different hormonal status instantaneously. And there's an idea, what I learned in my biology course, that at 6 weeks gestation, the first testosterone hits the male zygote. How that hits is dependent on the male and female that created the baby and the female womb and what she's experiencing in that moment.
I had a quick question. I've been meaning to ask. I don't know if I have asked you or not. I'll ask you again. In either TCM or biology, what is the decisive factor of which way it goes, like male, female?
So in TCM, there is the idea that it is at the 6-week mark, depending on what the mother had done up until that point. This is traditional. This is the classical text. So if you wanted a male, you would go and watch archers. You would go in like archery. You would go and be around, just, visual learner you are.
Yes.
You would go and be around masculine knights. You'd go be around like the samurai. You would go and experience this like real masculine, like fill up on testosterone experiences essentially. And if you wanted a female, you would focus on, or a girl, you would focus on the latter, like the calm, serene, be by the water, be gentle, be all those different things. So they essentially decided that it's that. Biology perspective, I'm pretty sure they believe it's the sperm that has the different X or Y, and that meets the X egg that then creates the boy or the girl. Just like in the scientific perspective, which would be the same. But the difference, I think there is a few differences there in the sense, and I can't speak fully to this, but there is an aspect where I don't know where a scientific perspective. So I was speaking to someone recently and they shared that from a scientific peer-reviewed perspective, apparently there is actually no difference between a male and a female or a boy and a girl in terms of the way that the brain functions. Now, I don't agree with that at all, but that is what the science is sharing. That is what, as in the papers that have come out, like the research is showing. And I'm not sure to what age, like whether that is to a, you know, to the age of 12 when things really do change, whether it's the under 12 aspect, whether from that perspective there is no physical difference. But from me personally, having 3 daughters and watching little boys and seeing how different things are, how important different things are. So I'm going to bring it back to the question before about this, like the male, female. No, you weren't saying that, but I was going to say that the sole purpose of the organism, say, the sole purpose of the female organism is essentially to be maintained safely and to now this isn't just biology, this is my kind of bringing in of a few things here, but this idea of the feminine to express and to move and to like kind of flow with an experience and be the let me leave that for a moment and I'll think about that part. But the male is easier for me to explain in that the male, from the biological standpoint, the male's main purpose to be here is to be a strong, powerful protector of territory.
So it goes back to like primal instincts almost. Yeah.
So I think we spoke about last time about how, like, you know, when I like, you know, rub your ego a little bit in a particular way, you feel really good. Whereas if I were to do the same to a female, she wouldn't feel so good. So for example, if I said to you as a man, I may have given this example last time, but if I were to say to you, wow, your like biceps are like such a manly attribute of your body. Like you should show them off more. They really like such a strong men have big biceps, and you can see strong men's big biceps. Like that's a really attractive trait in a man. So I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking about being a man. No. But do you know what? You felt the same way, whether I spoke to, whether I was speaking to you specifically and saying, Matt, your biceps are incredible, show them off. Or if I spoke to the masculine in you, that is going to puffer you up and the peacock comes out of you, not the actual. Anyway. Whereas for a female,
let's make it weird.
If a man or a woman said to a female, particular one person, and said, wow, long legs are such a beautiful feminine trait. Like so strong, long legs or not long, but like strong legs in a woman is such a beautiful feminine trait. She would not feel the same way that you felt. She would be like, who are you talking about? Who is this bitch? And what the fuck are you doing?
So you wouldn't say that on a first date?
You would not. You would not look around the room. Even if you're talking about the woman across from you, you would never talk about a woman or a feminine thing. You would talk about the woman in front of you. Your legs are the definition of feminine beauty.
So how does the female like to be? I go to say peacocked. That doesn't sound right.
She likes to be seen. She likes to be, you know, loved on as she is. She does. I don't know that she doesn't necessarily need to be nourished in the feminine way unless that's a perspective that she is, you know. Like, for example, I wasn't really too concerned with being feminine, right? And if you said to me, wow, such a beautiful feminine trait your like hair is, it's so long and lush and so feminine, I wouldn't feel very like, I'd be like, okay, cool, thanks. But if you were like, your hair is so beautiful, I love how it's so long, and like it just looks so nice on you. I think that really suits you, your long, beautiful hair. I would be like, oh, Matt, wow. Whereas if I said to you the same thing and told you, oh, you've got beautiful hair, Matt, like, have you been to the barber recently? You might be like, okay, cool. But if I said, wow, Matt, like the way you grow body hair is such like, oh, like I just thought of your moustache. It's not even your body, it's your face. Oh, but like, say I said, oh, you know what?
I do have a moustache on my chest.
Say
That's
I
fine.
said, oh, like chest hair is such a like masculine thing. Like, chest hair is so like powerful. You would like start to like, you start to like push your hair up the top of your neck. Like, oh, yeah, I got hair here too.
I'm gonna get
Yeah.
transplants.
Either way, I think from that perspective is that there is like your soul has incarnated specifically in the body it's chosen. And the way is the way. So whether or not you are living a full life in the most feminine, female experience, or whether you're living a female, masculine experience, or whether you're living a male, more feminized experience, or a male, manly, powerful, strong experience, it doesn't matter. But from a biological standpoint, they would say that there is a reason why you are not living a feminine female experience and a masculine male experience. And that would be based upon the conflicts and constellations, the sort of experience of life that you have, the bumps along the road that aren't wrong, because nothing is wrong in biology. However, there is a little piece of the however is, if you were to live the most feminine female life, this would be the way it would play out. And if you were to live the most masculine male life, this is the way it would play out. For example, if you were to live out if you were to be the alpha male from the depths of you would naturally have a family by 25. If you were to live out the most feminine female, you would have your period at 11 years old. And then you would also want to have a baby before 25. So it's this, and that would be the alpha female. The alpha female doesn't need to be seen, but she just gently floats. You can I personally now being in this realm find that I'm gravitating towards that. I want that for myself. The serenity, the lack of, the concern is just minimal. No concern with the people on the road that can't drive, no concern with anything other than the peace that is around me. And I find myself leaning towards that more and more the more I uncover this, or dissolve this attachment to that material identity that I once was clinging so tightly to. And I think that's the same with the man, like the more he steps into that, and I mean, this isn't essential, this isn't one black and white, but it is what I can see when a man steps more into his masculine and he is able to provide for his family, or he is able to protect his territory. He might have a motorbike. If he's able to have the time to clean all of the little spokes and, to clean that, to keep it like fresh and minted condition, that for him is going to broaden his chest and strengthen his belief in himself, which is then going to bring and rise up that frequency and allow him to fully flourish.
Okay, so bringing that into one's soul journey / path, how would you articulate the alignment of the biology and the manifesting into soul path?
Yeah, so I think that you can you can move these. So, for example, this chatbot doesn't know that I'm female, right?
From what you were saying, you're only just learning that you're female
Pretty
too.
much. So,
Yeah.
we're all the same page.
Everyone's confused, yeah.
But that's okay. You know, the way is the
Mm-hmm.
way. But I think where I'm getting to is just that the way you experience or see these aspects depends on the life experience you've had and what you want to call forth going forward. So I can take
Mm-hmm.
these things into, say for me personally, like that attachment to material identity. Well, I can see that in my life. And then
Mm-hmm.
moving forth to the discernment of illusion and truth, and being able
Mm-hmm.
to ground into the polarity of unity. So it's kind of this is this, and I can then utilize that in a way that feels feminine for me. So, for example, it might be specifically what I'm experiencing now, this illusion that the masculine, that I needed to work really hard and prove myself to be seen as enough, or to be gaining what I'm here to gain on my soul's path, or this carnation as the priestess, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can essentially feminize or masculinize the soul path and purpose for yourself. Now, I know personally that what I've learnt from, say, Morgan, who is very much into the alchemical path, she talks a lot about the idea of action must meet. Like, you can't just think up what you want. You must meet it with action.
Mm-hmm.
You must.
Yeah, I think Carl Jung says something similar. I think he said the universe works on a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you want the thing and you take one step towards it, you'll bring it one step closer to you. You take 10 steps towards it, it'll be 10 step it'll bring itself 10 steps closer
Yeah.
to you. If you do nothing, it does nothing. So it's a mirror.
Yeah. So I feel the same thing in terms of like, so what I'm feeling in myself and what I'm hearing, what I've shared, is that I want to move towards this serenity within nature, this pristine peace and calm within myself, to then have that in the collective around me. And so I could do that anywhere. Whether I wanted to do that within a work sphere, or whether I want to do that within a mothering sphere, whether I want to do that in just a relationship sphere or a friendship circle sphere, like whatever or however that comes about, they're the things that would come to me. For you, like, what would be, have you walked through those questions for yourself?
I have many
And
times.
do you see them changing?
And
Yeah,
of course.
okay.
Yeah. And it depends on, where you're at in life. It depends what experiences you've had. I'm just going through them again. So, like, I guess the question of who am I when I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, that was a real heavy one for me to even initially grasp when I first got, this list. Then being accepted was probably the other one. So it even took me a while just to see myself as myself before I even learnt that. And it's quite interesting because, people who don't feel like they're on their path, it starts to play with them mentally. And I can't remember if it was Ra or like a shamanic concept that a lot of mental illness comes from a state of you not being able to see yourself as yourself in that truth, the truth of yourself, that unveiling process of you seeing yourself kind of metaphorically, maybe literally, as naked in front of yourself. You're on mute.
Yeah, I did that deliberately. Okay. Cut that bit out, Matt.
Can do.
Yeah, okay, so seeing yourself as yourself.
But then going back to the soul path journey, the way my mind works is I like to trace everything as far back as I can comprehensively go and see, how the journey got there. So that's going to get, like, this is coming from a place of, okay, I don't know what I want. I don't know where I'm going. So what
Yeah,
have I done? Where was I before that? And I remember many moons ago, I got into a point of life where I just needed to be in silence and just sit and be in that space of everything and nothing at the same time. And I was like, just throwing questions out there. Like, was there a Big Bang? If there was a Big Bang, then there's got to be a center of the universe somewhere. Just really random shit like that. And then I thought, well, what's the origin of energy? Because it takes energy to do what you want. It takes energy to create. It takes energy. We are energy, right? So it takes energy to be, quite simply. So what's the origin of the energy? And then I did some research, and kind of listened to some mystical teachings, and really the origin of all energy is the action of free will upon that unconditional love, the source of all. And then the nature of energy is light. So when we come from that, entering into this mind, body, spirit complex, firstly, there's the inner light, of which would be the will of the self. That's your internal guiding star. So that's what we're kind of born with, as you were saying, biologically. And this energy dwells within. But then the second point of that energy would be the opposite of what you want. Does that make sense? Yep. Those two opposites create the magnetic field. And that comes through the earth, through all the lower points of the spine. And that's where the filtering process begins with the chakras, the energy centers. And from that, it directs our biology. But then the ego has to kick in to create the illusion that we're separate from self or other person, place, thing. But then when you can get to a point of clarity where you see that everything that you want, be it, like you think of a house, think of a certain house that you wouldn't think of a house as alive, right? But it's certainly made of things that would be considered alive in a way. So we don't think of bricks as alive, but it's made of stuff that is alive. So everything is alive. And because you're alive, you're automatically connected to it. So if you can focus when you focus on something that you really want, you can focus on something with your brain, and that's fine. You could also focus on something with your brain, which creates the thought, but doesn't create the thought, but processes the thought. We attach that with a feeling that's a visceral feeling from that will, internal will inside us, which is the primal distortion. When we align those and then put the focus onto something, we actually affect the molecules of the very thing that we're focusing on. And that would be, for me, the mechanism of how we create that magnetic rope between us. And then we become the positive and negative of a magnet. And we're just kind of, in that respect, we're drawn to each other, essentially.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I wonder how, I think that's the big thing when it comes to, say, New Age spirituality or whatever it is, like even the densities or the deep dive into the part, like into the historical ways and the the movements of our chemical pathways and all of those things, and how it was done years ago, that the human was able to live thousands of years instead of 100 years now, and yeah, I guess there's part of me that what comes to mind is like, okay, so how do we make that more clear, or like how do we magnetize faster? Well, we have to distill or clear, like make it very clear. Like we need to have such clarity. How do we, like, as in such clarity that the only thing magnetizing to us is exactly as we know is true. That's something that Nero talks to, and I know only of Nero through Hampus, but Hampus has then talked to me, so maybe it's Hampus, not it's Nero's work, but he talks a lot about you need to know that this is real. Like you can't just believe it's there, you have to know it inside of you, which is taking it past the point of the emotion and the thing itself. But and the part of this that I find is like, we have 100 years, right? And probably the last 20 of those years might not be what, like, we have physically 80 years of doing and being, and, well, not being, but doing, really, doing. So then we have the rest, like this 80 years, and for you, and you're past halfway, right? Essentially, which is so cool, because you've had so much life, right? You've lived so much in this 587 years. Obviously a very special human living 1,000 years, but
Oz the
you're the
exception.
exception in that.
Going to the gate.
But it's like, so I understand this idea. There's this, maybe what I guess would be called an egotistical perspective of like, I want that now then, because I'm only going to experience what I think I want to magnetize to me for a short period of time. So I want it to happen sooner rather than later. So how can I magnetize it faster? And then it's like, okay, well, I have to I need to accept all of these pieces of me that I've done lots of work ignoring or shunning. And I need to bring them to the table and accept all of it. Accept that, that this experience, created these kind of darker aspects of self, like that the shame led me to do things that weren't kind, that that there was pieces of envy, pieces of competition, like that these pieces existed within me and within all. And then it's sort of the acceptance of those pieces that then allows that to dissipate, that then allows me to magnetize more closely to the thing that I want, because I believe that is to be, or I know that is my reality. But I guess the question I have for you, because there was something that Hampus told me the other day, he's like, if you are reaching for something, then you will never get there. In that you are reaching for something, which means you don't believe it's true now. And if we believe it's true now, or has the potentiality to be true right now, then we are leading ourselves astray, essentially. And yeah, I don't know.
So you're saying reaching for a goal
To some extent, but
or a jar on the
yeah,
top shelf?
yeah, it's like maybe not a jar on the top shelf because,
No, I got the yeah. Um, so what came to me then was I would say both are true because you can reach for something knowing it's there, but what he's saying, if you already know it's there, you'd already have it, kind of thing. Where for me, they both exist because you can still want. I can reach for a farm. I want the farm, and my ego wants it tomorrow. However, there's no doubt my soul wants me to go through some experiences first to get there. I know it's there. I just know it. But I'm not ready for it yet.
yeah,
And I'm totally okay
yeah.
with that. So for me, they both exist.
Yeah, because the other thing was that if you don't truly know it, like you just know it, you know your farm. I know my house. Like I know it. I see it. I sense it. I dance with it. I experience life within it. Or for you on the farm, I'm sure. So I know it's there. I know it's coming. I know I'm going to be living upon it. But I guess the piece for my puzzle is that what I've started to do is channel through Hampus in the sense of if we were to live, and this takes me to a whole nother thing. If we were to live a life of like true biological essence, or I don't believe the monetary system and capitalism is. I don't think that's going to be in our future for always. I see a different experience, but we can't see beyond that yet. Like, we can't see beyond capitalism. We can't. There is no one out there talking past that. All the manifestors, alchemists, all the people are still talking to this idea that we need our money. Manifest your money, manifest your dream. It's
So for me, I would just change the word money. Energy.
But that doesn't change the system of capitalism.
No, but it changes your perception of it.
Yeah,
So if you think of capitalism as just money, but then you change that to capitalism is energy, what does that do to your flow of thought and what happens inside you?
yeah, that feels it feels softer. I just wonder if the collective can find their way to that as well, or like what I've been like sensing for some time is that it's not to be that way. Is that like it is not? We are not going to live this universal way. This is not the universal truth. Capitalism isn't the only way, is what I'm trying to get to.
No, I think we're coming to a collective, what's the word? Collective graduation in conscious processing that a lot of truth has been unveiled at the moment. And I think we're going through that shift. And with all this stuff, I guess, being uncovered and, lots of truths coming out, that also includes ourselves, to other people. But it's also showing people how the world is. And now a lot of people get scared of that because we all know governments are corrupt. I mean, fuck, everyone knows it. But no one likes talking about it. But that's starting to change. Albeit slowly, but it is starting to... There is a shift happening there.
And
So everyone share this episode, and we'll get this game happening.
You've been listening to The Wizard and the Priestess. Thanks for stopping by. Stay connected and be open.